Mahatma Gandhi often walked around barefoot, which produced an impressive set of calluses on his feet. He also ate very little, making him frail, and with his odd diet he suffered from bad breath. This made him a super calloused, fragile mystic, hexed with halitosis. 3 days ago, a man paid $100,000 for a piece of modern art. It was a banana taped to a wall. Yesterday, he untaped the banana from the wall and ate it. The joke was on him. Why did the cowgirl get a wiener dog? Because she wanted to get along, little doggy. An angel appears and tells a man that he can have good looks, wealth, or wisdom. He chooses wisdom. After a few minutes, he realizes that he should have chosen wealth. What is the first rule of therapeutic governance? This one's mine. What is the first rule of therapeutic governance? Keep them sick, and if you can't do that, keep them thinking they're sick, which is itself a kind of sickness. It pays our bills. Why doesn't the shrimp share his food? Because he's a little shellfish. I told my wife that she drew her eyebrows too high. She looked surprised. Sometimes I pull my knees up to my chest and lean forward. It's just how I roll. Why doesn't the government shut down the oil sands altogether? Because they need the oil to get to climate change conferences. What kind of exercises do lazy people do? Diddly squats. It takes guts to be an organ donor. A while ago, a friend of ours drowned. We bought him a wreath in the shape of a life jacket. It's what he would have wanted. Why is Vancouver spending $100 million on a Salish-themed art gallery? To help the homeless. A hunter is out in the woods with his friend who falls off a big rock and hits his head. The man phones 911 and tells the woman that he thinks his friend might be dead. She tells him to go back and make sure. He says okay, and then the phone goes silent. About 30 seconds later, she hears a loud bang. The man comes back on the phone and says, okay, now what? What does an agnostic, dyslexic, insomniac do at night? What does an agnostic, dyslexic, insomniac do at night? Lays awake, wondering if there's a dog. How does Moses make his coffee? He brews it. Apparently someone in London gets stabbed every 30 seconds. Poor bastard. A Russian approaches the Czech border and the border guard asks, occupation? The Russian says, no, just a visit. I'm always nervous when a woman sees me naked for the first time. What if she runs screaming from the park? The other day, a guy told me to punch a Nazi, so I did. One day, a scientist asked his computer whether or not there was a God. The computer responded that it did not have enough data, memory space, or computational power to answer the question. So the scientist uploaded all of the most important books written about God. He asked the computer again, and the computer responded by saying that still couldn't answer the question. So the scientist installed his computer up to a machine that could do quantum computing. Still the computer couldn't answer the question. So the scientist took this computer up to all the other computers in the world and every surveillance system in the world, all the hospitals, retailers, psychiatric institutions, and every correctional facility. Having done all this, he asked the computer, is there a God? The computer responded, there is now. What is green and travels 200 miles an hour? Okay, the next one isn't a joke, but it is funny, and it is true. This thing about this is true. I guess in Taiwan, political correctness hasn't really taken off. Because one day a journalist asked Tsai Ing-wen, the president of Taiwan, why she never got married. She answered, Why would I marry the whole pig when all I want is a little sausage? That's what she said. And there was, I won't bother. There was another guy that was, his was even worse. And he was running to be president as well. What did the horse say when he fell on the ground? Help, I've fallen and I can't giddy up. What did Grandpa say before he kicked the bucket? How far do you think I can kick this bucket? Did you know that your eyeballs are the last part of your body to really die? No, it's really true. They dilate. Why do governments want crazy children? Easier to control. What do you call an elephant that is not important? Irrelevant. What goes up but does not come down? Oh no, I'm sorry. What goes down but does not come up? A yo. I read a book about Stockholm Syndrome last week. It started off horribly, but by the end I kind of liked it. If you teach a man to fish, he can feed himself fish for a lifetime. But if you give a man a fish, he will follow you home asking for more fish, and then complain that there are no chips to go with it. Oh, and you're a racist. What is the one thing that would stop the culture war? Love. That's mine. Love and a sense of humor wouldn't hurt either. Since it started raining, all my husband has done is look sadly through the window. If it gets any worse, I'll have to let him in. Two cows are out in the field. One says to the other, "Did you hear about that mad cow disease that's going around? Sounds awful." The other cow says, "Yeah, makes me glad I'm a penguin." Two women are talking about body positivity and saying that nobody should be shamed over their body. But then one woman says, "No, hang on. That doesn't make sense. Some men are bald." A guy goes into a restaurant and asks the owner how they prepare the chicken. The owner says, "Nothing special. We just tell them they're going to die." Later, when the chicken comes, the customer complains that the chicken is cold. The owner says, "What do you expect? It's been dead for 2 weeks." A man and his wife are arguing across the dinner table. The woman says to her husband, "Your mother has been living with us for 20 years. I think it's time she found a place of her own." "My mother?" the man exclaims. "I thought." When is a load not a load? After you dump it. Which language has the most difficult grammar? English, French, Spanish, or Italian? Yes. Marriage is an institution in which two people become one. The trouble starts when they start arguing about which one. Wife, "Do you want dinner?" Husband, "How many options do I have?" 2. Yes or no? Wife, "I love you." Husband, "Is that you talking or the wine?" Wife, "It's me talking to the wine." What is the world's cheapest whiskey? Whiskey you don't drink. That one's mine too. Why did the narcissistic chicken cross the road? He thought it was a boundary. I think that one's mine too. Why marry the cow when you can get the milk for free? Because you love her, you moron. What is the opposite of paranoia? The delusion that you're following someone. Which authoritarian regimes used, are using, and will continue to use any and all crises, real, imagined, or exaggerated, to seize economic and political power? All of them. That's one of mine. What did the psychiatrist say to the guy who thought he was a duck? "You're quackers." Say what you like about the COVID mandates, they never attacked our freedom to intoxicate ourselves with noxious substances. How do you know there's an elephant in your refrigerator? There's elephant dung in the butter. A frog who claims to be Mick Jagger walks into a bank. He's met by a teller named Paddywhack. He wants to borrow $30,000, but only has a small ceramic elephant to use as collateral. She goes into the bank manager to tell him about her concerns. He says, "It's a knick-knack, Paddywhack. Give the frog a bone. His father's a rolling stone." What do you call a funny guy who likes darning socks? A nitwit. A nitwit. How in hell can a war be civil? Okay, and this is true. Not precisely true. How did you know who the Nazis were prior to Hitler's rise to power? This will surprise you. You didn't know. But in reality, so the joke goes, how did you know who the Nazis were prior to Hitler's rise to power? They worked in preschools. That's true. A lot of preschool teachers turned out to be pretty creepy. Okay, so this is becoming a little political, something I said I wouldn't, said to myself I wouldn't do, but can't help myself. Why don't woke authoritarians understand critical thinking? Because they think to be critical means to bitch constantly about things you don't understand. Every student should be educated as though they were designed for political